On 8 News Now.
Investigators have yet to discover what caused a power line to snap and fall into a Henderson family's backyard.
The unusual event caused the electrocution death of 56-year-old Jeffrey Carter. His family was devastated by the loss and are asking if the electrical system in their part of town is even safe.
The I-Team's George Knapp has this story.
At the corner of Basic and Gold in Old Town Henderson is a warning sign you don't often see. It alerts motorists to low-hanging power lines. Lines that hover just above yards and alleys are not unusual in this neighborhood of single-family homes built in the 40s and 50s. The power poles look like they're the originals from 50 or 60 years ago. Many have been secured or tethered to keep them from toppling over. Protective coating hangs from some power lines like skin that's been shed.
Yeah, some of them are pretty low, but we figured if something was wrong, they would fix it.
Bethany Carter grew up in the modest house on Tungsten Street, one of 5 kids. Her dad, 56-year-old Jeffrey, was the rock of the family.
Everyone in my family came to my dad if they needed help. My cousins, my aunts, uncles, anyone that needed help, that needed someone to talk to.
In the early morning hours of November 19th, the neighbors spotted a fire in the Carters' backyard. Within minutes, Jeff Carter was out in the yard using a garden hose to douse the flames. In the darkness, he didn't see the power line that had fallen.
I heard him yell, and I thought, okay, he's yelling for the extinguisher. So I grabbed it. I was calling for him, but I didn't see him, and then I looked down, and he was on the ground. I started to reach for him, and I looked, and that's when I saw the power line under his arm. It was practically touching his arm, sparks flying.
A neighbor warned the family to stay back. The ground itself was electrified. When emergency personnel arrived, they also had to stand back, Bethany says, because the line was still live. By the time they got to Jeff Carter, he was gone. Bethany's mom gave her the news.
And she said, he's not hurt, he's dead. And everything just stopped. I remember screaming, but everything just seemed to just stop.
It just doesn't happen. I mean, I've been in the business 30 years. I've never seen a service go down in this way and impact a community this way.
NV Energy Chief Operating Officer Kevin Garrity is the person who made the difficult call to the Carter family to offer condolences. The incident rippled throughout his company.
Yeah, I made the call that day, but on the scene we have, probably more than a dozen people, people that, that they're part of the community. Again, our families live, work, and play there. We see all that, and yeah, it is shaking us to our core.
Garrity says the company is still investigating the cause of this incident. He acknowledges the lines, poles, and equipment in that part of Henderson are old, but says age is generally not a factor when it comes to safety.
Just because it's original doesn't necessarily add to its or take away from its reliability. But to answer the question, yeah, we're continually measuring our reliability everywhere at all levels within, whether that's local service or transmission continually. And age or just simply succumbing to Mother Nature over time is not one of the primary drivers of our system and its reliability.
The company says power lines hang low over homes because that's how the houses were built, and many of the lines are for cable or phone, not power. After Jeff Carter died, the company submitted a one-page accident report to the state PUC. The root cause was left blank.
It is apparent these elements in this neighborhood have aged and deteriorated to a point of failure, and that failure can manifest itself in multiple ways.
Dan Carvalho, the attorney for the family, has not filed a lawsuit. He says NV Energy has been open and cooperative in talking about the incident.
That is what makes, I think, this case so tragic, is that this was not Hurricane Irma that brought this line down into the Carter's backyard. This was not an animal that caused it to come down, and it was not a tree falling on it that caused it to come down.
Both the law office and the power company continue to investigate. As for the family,
I spent my entire life in that house, and I can't and go into my own backyard.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
NB Energy says the public should always assume that any downed power line is dangerous. They urge residents to call if they see any potential problems in the system.
The company is involved in ongoing talks with the Carter family. The I-Team has requested public records about the reliability of electrical service in that part of Henderson, and we will have more information as it becomes available.